In this video, we're going to be looking at how to calculate taxes and discounts. And if ever there was a math lesson that was more applicable in the real world, everyone gets to deal with taxes and hopefully discounts, because discounts are a good thing. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to do it. I'm going to show you a two-step method and a one-step method. So we have Mr. Carnes is purchasing a gumball vending machine for $250 plus a 6.5% sales tax. What is his total bill? Now the two-step method is a method that we use. First, we're going to figure out how much tax is being added to the purchase price. Now, to do taxes and discounts, we're always going to be taking a percent and turning it into a decimal. So you're going to have to get really comfortable taking a percent, dividing it by 100, which means move the decimal 2 places to the left, and turning that into a percent. Always going to be doing that. So if we turn that 6.5% into a decimal, we have 65 thousandths, and we're simply going to multiply that times the purchase price. So what is 6.5% times $250? That's going to give us the amount of tax. Now remember, when calculating with our calculators, we're always going to round to the nearest cent. So if you have more than 2 numbers in the decimal, you're going to round to the nearest hundredth. So now that we have the amount of tax, we know it's $16.26. We're simply going to add that back to the purchase price. So $250 plus $16.25 is $266.25. So in this two-step method, you are able to actually calculate the exact amount of tax being added. So if you want to know how much tax am I paying, you would want to use this method. But if all you want is the total cost, I'm going to show you a little shortcut here. Here's the one-step method. You start out by doing exactly the same thing. You are going to convert the percent into a decimal, which we've already done. So when we take 6.5% and we convert it into a decimal, and you move the decimal 2 places to the left. Now, we are going to put a 1 in front of that decimal. What does this mean? This stands for 100% of the purchase price. That means you're going to pay all of the $250. And then on top of that, you're going to pay the 6.5%. So if we take the purchase price and we turn the percent into a decimal, and we put a 1 in front of that decimal, this is saying I'm going to pay all of the purchase price and a 6.5%. And when you multiply that on your calculator, you find that you get the same thing we did in this two-step method, which is $266.25. The only thing I did different was I put this 1 in front of the decimal. And what does that mean? It means you're paying 100% of the purchase price. You're paying all of the $250. And in addition to that, you're paying the tax. Let's look at discounts. Admission to a museum is $8. Students receive a 15% discount. How much is the discount and how much are they paying? So if you want to know how much the discount is, you will need to use the two-step method. We start the same way again. We're always going to be converting the percent into a decimal. So we had 15%. Divide it by 100 or move the decimal over 2 places and you would have 15 hundredths. So if we multiply the cost times 15% turned into a decimal, you will find out how much the discount is. So if I type that into my calculator, I find out that it's a $1.20 discount. Now, if I want to know how much I'm actually paying after the discount is applied to the ticket cost, I simply take the $8 of the ticket and subtract the $1.20, and I find out that it is $6.80 to get in. Now this two-step method is good if you want to know how much of a discount am I actually receiving. Now if all you want to know is the final price and you really don't care about the exact amount of the discount, you can do it in a one-step method. I call it a one-step method, but there is one step you have to do before you get to the one-step method, so I guess that makes it a two-step method. But if you have to think about this, if it is being discounted 15%, what percent am I paying? Now, you're paying 100% of whatever the admission fee is. So what number do I add to 15% to equal the 100%? Well, it's 85%. 85 plus 15 is 100. So if the discount is 15%, that means that I am paying 85%, and that would equal the total cost, which is 100%. So that's kind of a mental step you can do at first. So I know that I'm paying 85%. So now if I know I'm paying 85% and I turn that into a decimal by moving the decimal over 2 places, and I multiply that times the purchase cost, then we just have 8 times 85 hundredths, and you're going to get the same thing we did in the two-step method, which is $6.80. Now hopefully this first step, where you're figuring out how much you're actually paying, is a step you can do mentally, and you wouldn't have to have your calculator for, and you would only need your calculator for this final step. That's why I call it a one-step method, because I do the first step mentally. Okay, let's look at this. Find the final price of a bike that is 45% off, $110 with a 7% tax. So what is the discounted price? If it is discounted 45%, then what percent am I paying? This is a mental step I do. Well, I know that 55 and 45 equals 100%. So I know that I'm paying 55%. So I'm going to take that 55%, turn it into a decimal, which would be 55 hundredths, and I'm going to multiply it times the $110. And I find out that the discounted price is $60.50. Now to do the tax. I have to turn the 7% into a decimal by moving the decimal over 2 places. So it would be 7 hundredths. Remember, if I put that 1 in front of it, it says I'm paying all of the discounted price, all of the $60.50. In addition to that, I'm paying a 7% tax. So I can take the $60.50 and multiply it times 1 and 7 hundredths. This means I'm paying all of this. This means I'm paying a 7% tax. And I find out that the price after the discount and the tax is $64.74. If we have this worksheet, here's an example off of it. The fruit smoothie discounted 35% from $2.25. So how much is it now that there is a 35% discount? Well, I have to think again. If it's being discounted 35%, and I just want to know the cost, then what percent am I paying? Well, 100 minus 35 is 65. So I know I'm paying 65%. So I take the $2.29 and I multiply it times, this is supposed to be a 6 right there. I'm taking the $2.29 and multiplying it times 65 hundredths because I'm paying 65% of the cost. And I find out that it is $1.49. How about a phone charger that costs $17.75? It's being discounted 10.5%, and then a tax of 8.75% is being added. Okay, a discount of 10.5%. If it's discounted 10.5%, what percent am I paying? I am paying 89.5%. So I'm going to turn that into a decimal and multiply it times the $17.75, and that's going to tell me the discounted price. So I'm going to take my calculator here, because I don't have this on my slide, I don't think. And I'm going to go $17.75 times 0.895. And I have to round to the nearest cent, and it is $15.89. That is the cost after the discount. Now I got to figure out the tax. Well, the tax is 8.75%. If I move the decimal over 2 places, that is going to be 0.0875 turned into a decimal. Remember, if I put a 1 in front of it, it means I'm paying all of the $15.85. And in addition to that, I am paying the tax. So here's the amount after the discount, all of that, and 8.75% tax. So again, let me take my calculator. $15.89 times 1.08875. And the final price is $17.28. Just a little cheaper than the original price because the discount covered a little bit more than the tax. That's like 27 cents. I think that's a penny off there. That's a page that we're not doing. So I'm going to stop there. I hope this has helped you with calculating taxes and discounts.